welcome to another Silverbird Selection game review, and today is going to be the first of 5 games I'm reviewing that were chosen for me to review by my wife Anna, so let's hope these don't result in any kind of domestics. They won't, by the way. So the first game we're looking at is Scuba Kidz, released in the Silverbird packaging in 1988. This is a pretty rare game to find out there, and my copy cost £4.99, so one of the more expensive games. Let's take a look at the game now and see what it's like. Okay, so the front cover is the typical Silverbird release with the purple and pink stripes, and the image on the front is fairly simplistic. It's just a scuba diver evading a big shark. Not that well drawn either, but I do like the logo on this one. Look at that a little bit more closely. Scuba Kidz, and the sort of diagonal shape of it on the right hand side there corresponds nicely with the flash down the right hand side there with the Commodore 64 text on it, so I quite like that. And on the spine they pretty much ruined that by putting the scuba and the kids next to each other like that, and it looks a bit poor. On the back cover we've got the usual 4 screenshots for this type of release, which you can quite clearly see it's some kind of undersea adventure style game, which is not surprising given the title of the game. And the blurb says underwater antics as you dive to rescue your pals. So looking inside the inlay, and we can see the advertisement for other Silverbird titles with the screenshots. This time we've got Night Gunner, Skateboard Joust, Rebel Star 2 and Hopper Copper, which I think we've seen on other games that I've already reviewed. Moving inside then for the instructions, you can see that Scuba Kidz, copyright 1988, Andrew Betts, who was responsible for several of the Firebird budget games. And the game overview says, one of the evil sea lords has kidnapped some of the kids and is holding them in an undersea chamber. As the best swimmer, you've been asked to save them. Swim through 8 reefs, unlocking the Sea Lord's doors and fighting the fish with your bubble gun, obviously. Be careful, as some routes you may take will leave you high and dry. Then you've got the loading instructions, and finally the gameplay instructions. Pretty simple controls, joystick import 2, and some hints about different things that you can pick up, and also what you have to do to complete each level. The fact there's a timer also, that if it runs out you'll lose all your keys but all the doors open, which is a strange combination of things. Things to avoid as well, such as mines and fish to kill and things like that as well. And finally at the end it says you will battle with a nasty shark. So here we can see the loading screen for the game, and it's got the typical of this era scrolling message that's telling you a little bit about the game. As that scrolls past you can also see it says Scuba Kidz at the top there by Andrew Got the Time on You Boy, Norfolk Broads Betts. That's quite a nickname. And it says it's happy to be loading for you, and at the bottom there it also says have such a nice day. What a very polite loading screen, even if it is a little bit boring. So the text across the middle there is basically telling you the overview of the game, what you've got to do, which has already been covered in the instructions anyway. But we'll let it scroll through to the end. I don't think it takes too long. In fact, here we go, this is the end of it. Please be patient, as this game takes quite a while to load. So there you go, pretty typical loading screen for these Silverbird range games. There's none, I don't think, so far that have had anything other than a text-based loading screen, but at least a little bit of effort went into this one. Here's the title screen for the game then. As you can see, it's very blue, and it's got some pretty basic text on there saying Silverbird presents Scuba Kidz by Andrew Betts, with music by Wally Beban, and pretty decent music it is as well. Press fire to play, and there's also a couple of thanks at the bottom there. Many thanks to Colin for ideas and to Richard for help on the background. And as you can also see, there's lots of sprites moving around in the background, including the main character swimming and lots of fishes, so that's quite nicely done. You can also see at the bottom right corner there that there is a high score that it records. There's no high score table. So fairly simplistic title screen, but nicely put together, nice and colourful, nice bouncy SID tune as well. So let's get on with the game. So you're presented with this introductory screen, are you ready player? You have to then actually press fire to say then let's go. And then you'll materialise underwater in a very pink environment. And immediately your air is starting to run out, so you have to collect this tank of air. Oh, well, that didn't last very long. Wow, I was so slow, I didn't even get the tank of air. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so there we go. I've got the air. You can see I've now got the air tank on my back. There's also a key to pick up there, and the air still does slowly decrease, but you can move to the surface of the water at any point to top the air up. So one noticeable thing about this right from the start is that it doesn't contain the screen in the usual area that a Commodore 64 game would. Usually you'd have a border all the way around, but as you can see, there's actually graphics right to the very top and bottom of the screen. The bottom's got a bunch of icons, which are the various power-ups you can pick up, similar to a game like Whiz Ball, for example. And then at the top you've got a nice sort of bobbing ocean, some clouds going past, and the sun at the top left as well. So it's a left to right scrolling game. You can move freely in that area. Very pink coral, I think it's supposed to be in this first level. So you pick up keys. The idea of the game is to get to the end of the level, face off against an end of level enemy, and then move on to the next level, and so on. So there's various things to negotiate past. I've just picked up the bubble gun, and what's quite a nice touch is that no enemies, which are in this case a fish, actually appear on the screen until you've picked up the gun. So there's various things to shoot. You just get points for them. You can just avoid them as well for the most part. There is one kind of fish, and you can see it floating around at the bottom left there, the angel fish. If you shoot that with the bubble gun, you actually lose air, so the idea is not to shoot that, obviously. So, oh, I'm running out of air again, so let me quickly go and top up on air. Too much talking, not enough playing the game. So, what you don't find out until you mess around with the game a little bit is there's various areas that you can, sort of secret areas if you like, you can uncover by shooting through the bricks to pick up other things like keys and so what have you. So that, what just happened there was, and I didn't mention it, is two of the bubbles in the bottom set of icons are actually a timer, and when that runs out, all the doors unlock, but you also lose all your keys. So there's sort of a kind of a problem as you go further through the game, and you might need the keys on later levels. To begin with, it's not really an issue. So as a result of me faffing around for too long, the doors have now unlocked throughout the whole level, which does make it actually easier to progress. But like I say, you can collect more keys than there are doors, which is helpful for moving on to later levels. So I've just got to shoot my way through various areas now to get to the end of the first stage. Just top up on air again. So fairly straightforward so far, nothing too much to concern myself about as yet. There's a lot of shooting through sets of rocks and stuff, which can get a bit tedious. But I think I'm nearly there. There's another power up there, I'm not sure what that is, whether that's speed or something, I'm not sure. They were all described in the instructions, but I've already forgotten them. So just top up on air again. At the end of the level you can see about halfway down on the right hand side there it says out, and that does lead you to the end of the level. So I should just do that now, which takes you to the end of level boss, I guess you could call it, which is this shark, and all you've got to do is shoot the shark a few times with the bubble gun without getting hit. If he hits you, your air runs out, and your air is running out just naturally as well. There you go, it only needs 3 or 4 shots to get him. First level's pretty easy, so you get a bonus at the end of the level and then move on to the next level, which is more of the same, but the colour scheme changes, and this time it's green, which is very vibrant but not as off-putting as the pink. So although it doesn't look like it, I have actually got the scuba tank here on my back, or you can't see it on my back, but you can see that the air isn't going down like it was at the beginning of the first stage. So graphically it's pretty nice. The backgrounds are fairly boring, I suppose you could say, repetitive and not very varied, which is the same as repetitive, I don't know why I said that. But they do the job alright. The above ground, sorry, the above sea graphics are probably slightly nicer with the beaches and stuff like that. So here again you've got things to shoot through. That area below, you don't really need to go in there, so I'm saving my key for something more useful later on. So this does get a bit tedious, shooting through these long areas of bricks and things. You have to keep turning around to shoot the other fish as well. So I need to quickly get some more air, and And there is actually another air tank there, which I'll top up on in a second. So again, the timer's running down. As you can see, the bubbles on the left and right hand side of the icons are gradually going down. I would like to try and get to the end of the stage as quickly as I can, but I'm going to need this key down here. Now this is a bit of a problem. The mines do explode. That was a mine there. Explode and drain a bit of your air. You've only got one life, by the way, so when you run out of air, it's game over. So I need that key there to progress any further. Unless, of course, all the doors unlock. But I would like to try and get to the end with that before all the air runs out, although it's not looking that promising at the moment. Grab this key from down here. Yeah, they're gonna unlock in a second. Oh, more air there. Okay, so I've got another bit to get through here. I might just make it actually. There we go. So end of the second stage, and the shark is a bit faster and also darts around a little bit more. So you just have to be a little bit more careful, but again, it's not too hard to dodge, hopefully. It always comes from one side, which does make it easier, but it always also comes... Wow, I've nearly lost all my air there. There we go, I got it though. That was lucky. So there we go, that's the end of the second stage. So now we get on to the third stage, and this has an immediate problem because you materialise straight on a mine and lose some air right from the start. So that's not great. The problem here is you've only got one key. Now there's an icon here, I don't know what this is, but it turns you into a fish for a bit, but I don't know what the purpose of that is particularly. So you've only got one key and there's lots of doors, but also there's nowhere to surface to top up air in the early part of the level. So you do have to, there's a couple of air tanks to get, which you do need. I'll probably have to go back for the other one. And there's two keys here, two locks I should say, and the top one I know doesn't help. But yeah, sure enough, the bottom one does let you get through. So I'm just going to go back. Actually, I'm okay for air at the moment, so let's just move on. So I haven't mentioned the sound. The sound is... I should be able to get up here to surface, actually. There we go. So I'll just stop here for a second. The sound is pretty basic. It's little blips and noises. They're okay. They're nothing special. The music's definitely the high point, and you only get that in the end of level shark bit. So let's move on. I've got a key, so I can move on through this next section reasonably easily. But you can see here, you can't get past that mine, so the only solution is to crash into it and then go back and top up on air again. There are a lot more enemies on this stage. Oh, I see, I'm not sure which power up I picked up. I can also fire bubbles up and down now, which I've not previously been able to do, I don't think. Again, I've hit another mine, and I can't see how I'm going to get past that mine without hitting it either. So it's a bit problematic here. This is actually the furthest I've got in the game. I've not got past this stage. But let me go and top up again. For sure, the locks are all going to open in a second. I'm going to lose any keys. I haven't actually got any keys anyway, so that's not really a big problem. Let's try and get to the end of this stage. Hit another mine there, but again, I can top up on the air. You can see it's fairly simplistic gameplay. It's reasonably playable though, I would say. It's not too bad. And to get through this, to get this key at the bottom, I'm going to have to shoot all of these things away. And I'm just wondering if it's actually worth it. I don't think it is, so I'm just going to move on. What have we got here? Oh, yeah, that pause is the doors all unlocking. So I think I'm just shooting my way through all this. Just need to be careful about my air though. I'm hoping there's another place to surface along here, or I'm going to be in big trouble. Nope, I've hit a mine and died, and that was right at the end of the level, annoyingly. But I don't think there's any point replaying it. I think you've seen the gist of the game in that one playthrough. It's reasonably playable. Not the most amazing game, I would say, but I think overall it's quite a nice package. So let's go to the review scores. And I'm going to give the packaging 6 out of 10. It was fairly unremarkable. The image on the front cover wasn't that good. The instructions were pretty brief as well. So 6 out of 10 I think is a fair score for the packaging. Presentation's nice though, nice title screen with the sprites moving around in the background, and definitely some nice music as well. So I'm going to give that 7 out of 10. Graphics, again, decent. The sprites are nice, the backgrounds are fairly bland, but the sprites are nicely done, nicely animated and nice and colourful as well. So 7 out of 10 for the graphics. Sound I'm also going to give 7 out of 10. The in-game sounds are fairly basic, but they do the job. But the music is excellent, I think, so worth 7 out of 10 overall. And finally, playability. Pretty simple gameplay, but still playable. Obviously progression relies on a bit of learning the levels and also probably a bit of luck in places as well. But the more you play, the further you will get, as evidenced by that playthrough, because that's the furthest I've ever got in the game. So playability overall, I'm going to give 6 out of 10, which gives an overall score of 7.2. Pretty good across the board, really. Not an amazing game, but certainly a playable one, and I would say definitely worth £1.99. Certainly back in the 80s, I think that's a pretty decent all-round game. So there you go, that's my review of Scuba Kidz. Hope you enjoyed watching it. If you've got any thoughts about the game, please leave me a comment, and I'll be back with another game review pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.